All right, and we are live. Welcome back. It's been a few days. I've been under the weather, but I am so stoked to be here with you guys again. And we're going to have some fun today. Remember our side quest from last time? We wanted to take this... Oops, I'm stuck on the table. We wanted to take this PS3 controller, and we're going to hook it into some other synths today. So, I usually try not to do too much work in between streams because I kind of want to show this whole process to you guys. But this was a special case because it's boring to watch me troubleshoot my MIDI setup. No one really wants to see that. But I am going to explain what was wrong last time, and it's pretty simple. I needed to buy the full version of Max MSP. I just had the live suite version, which does not allow you to have MIDI ports outside of Ableton. So that's what we were missing last time, and now we are ready to go to make some new progress. Anyway, before we dive in, I just want to welcome a couple of newcomers. We have Dennis Fitz57 as a new follower. Hello. And we have sorry if I pronounced this badly, Kyabra has followed. So thanks for joining us, and hope to see you soon. And we are going to have some fun here. Let me get set up here, and there's my Max MSP. Here's my camera. Let's make sure I'm not, like, muted or anything dumb like that. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Yup. Speak up and chat if you have any questions or if I'm messing something up. We are here to break things and learn from our mistakes and generally have a good time learning together. And if there's anyone new tuning in, also, I try to make this kind of an open community so that not only can you ask questions, but you can also tweet me with your music and your patches. And probably next stream we're going to do our first shot of sharing other people's work. I'm going to download a Max for Live device and possibly share some work from somebody I met on Discord. And it's going to be a good time. Let's see. Now we do the usual part of the stream where I realize that I'm talking super fast and that I'm nervous, and then I will eventually calm down and all will be well. Woosa. Let's see. Alright. Where am I? There I am. Okay. Let's open up Max. Let's make sure that everything is still working as we left it. Let's unhook my controller from everything that it's stuck on. And I'm going to show you guys what I did between last stream and this stream. First, we got to select our controller from the menu, and we are indeed getting input. And let's hit play so we have some context. Yep, things are still working. Good times. Alrighty. Honk! Hello, Teeth Engraved. Thanks for joining us tonight. Honk back at you. I'm a huge fan of the Goose Game, to anyone who doesn't know. If you haven't played Untitled Goose Game, you really should. It will improve your life. It rules. So, alright. So the first thing that I did, I'm going to pull up my notes here, and we're going to review what we did last time, and we're going to make a new patch. So, what I want to be able to do today is take this cool joystick data that we've figured out and be able to use it on other synths. I realized that we've been trying to kind of do a little too much all at once. We're not only trying to build a synth and do all the sound design inherent in that, but we're also trying to get comfortable controls out of a PlayStation controller instead of a normal MIDI keyboard, and that takes work. And trying to do both of those things at once is going to lead us into more headache than we need. So we're going to take a side quest, like we started last time, and focus just on the controls, and use existing synths in Ableton. And that'll be a cool little standalone patch that you guys can use if you have a PlayStation controller. Probably not a PlayStation 4 controller, I wasn't able to get those to work, but any PS3 controller should work with this when we're done with it. and it's gonna be fun. So, new max patch. And this is what I was trying to do last time and failing at. When you click on a MIDI out object, you should be able to assign a port here. And last time I had no ports. And the problem with that was that I only had Max licensed through Ableton and not on its own. The crossgrade is not super expensive, so I just bought it and now we're set. Doing this from within Max for Live, I discovered, also does not exactly work, because while you can send MIDI out, it doesn't let you double click on it to select a port, because Live is expecting you to just output your MIDI through a MIDI track. And what we want it to do is show up as a device that we can map here to whatever we feel like. That is the mission for today. So, let me pull up my notes. And just to share with you guys the journey a little bit, what I ended up needing to Google was Max 8 MIDI setup window, no devices found, which led me to a similar problem, but it was on Windows, and they don't have Max to from ports at all. So I figured I should be seeing to and from Max ports, which we are now. I'm referring to these. I'm just going to discuss this briefly because I really do want this stream to help people with the process of troubleshooting. That has been one of the most valuable things that I have learned as a programmer in any language. So I was looking for these sort of general MIDI out ports, like to Max and from Max, because we can pick those up over in Ableton and assign them to whatever we like. And so I Googled that and saw other people having similar problems, and I was like, alright, so I didn't imagine those. Those should be showing up. And I wrote down my thoughts here. MIDI setup does show these ports. So if I went into system preferences and audio MIDI setup, they were there, but they weren't showing up in Max for Live or in Max Standalone. I tried restarting, and I tried opening a Max instrument and a standalone patch, and I see Max instrument as a MIDI input on and available for mapping, but this is different. I need a MIDI output, which I can use for mapping. So, preferably in Max for Live, but I'm going to be happy with a standalone. And then I Googled Max MSP, Mac OS, no MIDI outputs, and that was my aha moment, as I wrote down in my notes. And that led me to here. Cycling 74 docs, live limitations. And I guess I can open this up very briefly. Actually, I don't really need to. There was one sentence in it that is actually what told me to do. When authorized only via Live, the Max application will not use its own MIDI drivers. And I was like, that's the issue here. So I upgraded, and here we are. Now, on to Joystick Data, the real fun of all of this. Let's see. So I've made some updates to this B-patcher that we made last time that handles joystick data, and managed to map it to a standard 0 to 127. I'm going to zoom in here a little so that you can see. Watch these number boxes here. As I move my joystick around, you can see that they are feeling pretty good. This one is, this one on the left here is the y-axis, so up and down. I can nudge it, and it'll stay, when I take my thumb off, it'll stay where I leave it. And it'll start slowly. I can nudge it just a little bit, and then move it real fast all the way up and down. It's comfortable. And then this one is left-right, the x-axis. And this is what we want to be able to map to a synthesizer. So diving in, let's open this guy up. We want object, open original. So we're going to take this and plop it into a new Max patch, so that we can then send it to synthesizers. Now this is the important thing. We needed these changeable arguments to be different for the X and Y axes. So we have Hashtag 1, hashtag 2 are our minimum and maximum target values. That would be 0 to 127 for anything in MIDI. Cool. Makes sense, right? And again, stop me if you have any questions. I used to be a teacher, and so this is why I'm taking the time to talk through this, and hell, it's good for me too. Makes sure that I actually don't have any bugs sitting around here I haven't noticed. Now, 3 and 4 are kind of the important ones for making this feel good. We have the minimum nudge amount and the maximum nudge amount is what I'm calling it. So a minimum nudge amount in either a positive or negative direction is when I just tiny touches on the joystick, when I want to just nudge it a little bit. And the maximum nudge amount is when I want it to zip real fast. Now, I'll show you where we're using that in a second. Number 5 is just an identifier, a name for this particular control so that Max doesn't get confused trying to send data from the x-axis to the y-axis or something like that. Keeps everything inside of this patch. For example, we have this send hashtag 5 rescale. So if I call this patch, if I put the word Bob in as the 5th argument, then this is going to be renamed to Bob Rescale. And if I make a copy of this B patcher and I call it Jane, then all of Bob Rescale's bangs are going to be inside of Bob, and all of Jane's are going to be inside of Jane. Cool? Cool. Now, finally, number 6 and 7, this is new, we didn't have this last time, are the minimum and maximum for the center zone on this particular axis. This is important because if I take my hand off of my controller, I don't want the joystick to be slowly shifting right or left or something. I want it to stop in the middle. So I'm defining kind of a dead zone right in the middle. And that is going to make sure that when we let go of the joystick, it stays where we want it. Okay, so we have 1 and 2 being used here in this clip object. And actually, let's start up here. We're receiving raw joystick data from our axis in here. And we are also receiving this rescale bang here, which is just actually a bang every 10 milliseconds. Sorry, missed some chat here. Teeth Engraved says, Bob, help. Bob inside Jane, got it. Yep, that's generally the takeaway from that long-ass rant I did. Oh my god. You're the best. So yeah, okay, business. We're getting bangs through this rescale. Banging Bob and Jane. But separately. And every 10 milliseconds, Bob gets a bang, and that means take the joystick data and do stuff to it. Rod. And then, so it comes in here, and we split it. So if it's between 0 and 134, that means that it's either left or down. We're decrementing. And if it is between, so 135 and 137 is just the default values. This is where our 6 and 7, our dead zone, comes in. If our number is in this middle split zone, then that means I've let go of the joystick. And we're going to come down here and trigger a 0. If we are above this zone, then that means we are incrementing. We're either going to the right or we're going up. Teeth Engraved says Bob is busy. Yeah, every 10 milliseconds is really fast for Bob. But we want Bob to be, like, really sensitive to our touches. This is an adult stream. Okay, so next. So we've split our input into either low, middle, or high. Now, we are going to rescale that to a nudge amount. If we're going left, then we want to nudge with a negative number. And if we're going right, or, up, then we want to nudge with a positive number. Cool? And that's what this scale object is doing. Right here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you guys can see better. Woo! Come on, screen. And so you can see here we are receiving. So anytime you see #5, remember that's just Bob or Jane. All that does is restrict to inside of this patches zone. And you can even see this is a -0, which is kind of a funny maxism there. That isn't really a thing, but whatever. What we are doing is based on our current target value, so our actual MIDI value of 1 through 127. Teeth Engraved says, rapidly becoming Twitch's premier Bob Ross /fic stream. Yes, all of our happy little objects in this happy little adult stream. I'm an adult. Really. Okay. Right. So, we have our current target value coming in here. And so that's like our actual knob that we want to control, like the filter that we're sweeping or whatever. And we are adding our nudge value to it. So as long as I am holding the joystick in one direction, then we're going to have like, say 0.5 in here or something like that. And every 10 milliseconds, we add whatever this nudge value is to the current target value. And that lets us slowly move right or left or up or down as long as we're moving the joystick. But this 0 means that we stop if we're in the middle. Cool. We're also clipping right here to make sure we don't go outside of our target value. And then this is the weird thing. We are scaling from our target value. So based on where we are in that 0 through 127 range, we are scaling the amount of nudge that we are doing. And that gets sent from down here up to here, or from down here up to here. So the way that this translates, and I kind of had to think this through a few times, is if we are farther up towards 127 or 0, then our nudge value gets larger and we move faster. But if we are closer to the middle, we are going to be nudging in smaller amounts. And I tried taking this out and just doing a basic scale from, 0 to 2 or something like that. It just does not feel as good. And this is that weird crossover point between being a programmer and being a musician and being a gamer, is you need to have a feel for what you're looking for. And that's what I try for. So, that is the walkthrough. Let's take a look at it in action. So, here is 2 just generalized versions of this B patcher. This one is X, this one is Y. And I had to put this scale object in here to invert the Y because all the way up at the top of the joystick, here I'll throw a number box in so you can actually see. Top of the joystick is actually 0, and bottom of the joystick is 255. Excuse me, and nobody wants that. So, and you can see in here our changeable arguments. We have 0 to 127. That's what we want to get out of this. And we have 0.1 to 1.5. Those are the nudge amounts that I settled on. So if we're closer to 127 or 0, then our nudge amount is going to be closer to 1.5. We're adding 1.5 every 10 milliseconds to the current value. And this is just the name. It's called Y-axis. I could call this Bob if I wanted to. And then lastly, this is our dead zone. So anything between 137 and 143 triggers a 0, and we don't move. Cool? Everybody cool? We cool. I'm going to leave it Bob, because why not? And now what we're going to do is we're going to copy these. So let's see, I just want to make sure I got good variable names here. Receiving raw L joy Y. So left joystick Y, and then receive raw L joy X. So there's our left joy X and Y. Let's get rid of this. And I have a new object there for some reason. that we don't need. And you can see this funky little thing real quick before I take this out. This is monitoring for us our current value. Zooming in. And you can see that on both of these B patchers, we have a little loop here where our new value of the target is coming out of the B patcher here based on what we have nudged based on our joystick. And then the output is going back into the B patcher. And that is what is being scaled into the new nudge amount. Okay, I have a new view now you can actually see. So here's our clipping to 0 to 127, and then scaling any numbers from 0 to 127 to 0.1 to 1.5. And you can see that we're getting our numbers from 0 to 127 out here, and then back in here, where they're getting added to this nudge value as I poke the joystick. Every time I poke it, we get a little nudge, either just above 0 or all the way to 1.5 if I'm holding it down over here. And this current output value is coming back in here and not only getting sent out, this is going to go to an instrument, but it's coming out here and being scaled into our nudge amount and being sent, whoops, back up here. So this is nudging to the right, and this is nudging to the left. You can see it's a negative number here. We're multiplying by -1 here. Don't mean to harp on this, but this was a pain to figure out. And so I want to pass it on. I think that scale makes more difference when you're doing something like this, where our output range is not just 0 to 127. Here we figured out our range was like all the way up to 9,000. So it makes a really big difference that you want to move faster when you're up in these higher ranges. And, yeah, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is its power level is over 9,000. Oh, I crack myself up. Okay, so we're going to steal these, and we're going to put them in a new patch. It is action time. Copy. New patch. Paste. Let's make it bigger. So we're going to have... So one thing that's important here is this is a float. This is an integer. MIDI is only integers. And, but our patch here expects floats to be able to be accurate to our joystick and move in small increments. So we are going to keep this one. And let's start with just the left joystick, I suppose. And this is what we're going to be sending out of a MIDI port and into live. So in the name of doing things little by little, I'm going to pretend that we have our controller hooked up here. And I'm going to actually just make sure that this works. I should be able to map a number box to a knob in live. That way you guys can see what we're actually going for here. So move this out of my way. And we're going to use a CTL out. That stands for MIDI CCs, or continuous controllers. And it's knob data, really. So, if I recall, we can set this to a default channel and controller number. Channels are 1 through 16. Controllers are 1 through 127. Let's just do 1 and 1. And I'm going to open the help file because I can never remember which is which. And let's see, the middle inlet sets the controller number, and the right inlet sets the MIDI channel. So it's going to follow that same order in the object. So controller followed by channel. Controller, channel. So let's make this one over here, controller 2, and leave it on channel 1. Connect this up. let's save this. I'm going to give this a fun name. This is going to be Silver Machine, the name of our cool new synth here. Now, we don't have our HI object in here, so this is not going to be pulling from the controller quite yet, but if there is one thing that I have learned in any kind of programming, it is just do things one little piece at a time. So I'm going to set this to, let's say, the IAC driver bus. That's a good... We just need any kind of port that Live can find. Now over here in Ableton, let's open a new synth. I'm going to open this Generate synth because I think it's awesome and I can't get enough of it. Let me make sure to actually turn on my MIDI channel. Cool. Let's find a, I don't know, maybe a pad or something. Come up an octave. There we go. Oh, hey, Beard Pills, how's it going? Grabbing some food? That sounds good to me. I've already eaten, but I'm gonna have some snacks later. Ethan Craved, I missed the Bob's Knob comment. That's what I'm gonna call that bee patcher. Oh my god. You guys are gonna have to excuse me. I'm like still real new to streaming, and sometimes I get lost in things and I forget to look over at chat. And I absolutely don't mean to. It's just hard to do lots of things at once. But I love you guys and thank you for joining me. It's so cool we have some viewers. And please, again, in case there's any new people here, stop me with questions. Stop me if you notice me fucking something up. Or if you want to have any suggestions of ways to do things that are better. This is a collaborative effort. Now, let's map a knob that's going to sound cool. We got the synth going here. Bet that... Ooh, chaos shape is nice. Sick. Yes, I love this synth so much. You have no idea. Okay, so I believe that to map, we would go click this little triangle, click configure, and then just twiddle this. Yep, okay, there it is. Nice. Now I click configure again. I can close this. And now if I go MIDI, yeah, this is available for mapping. Alright, so we're sending our controller data to the IAC bus, so I've got to make sure that that's enabled in Ableton. Enable the Ableton. MIDI, IAC bus, remote is on. We don't need sync or MPE. All we need is remote. So that should be good. And let's find a second one too while we're at it. Maybe there's a filter over here. Oh yeah. Sick. Alright. Yeah, I think filter frequency is a good one. I like filters. Configure. Frequency. Boom. Alright. Now, over to the Silver Machine. Over to Bob. These are both set to IAC bus. Success. Hey! Beard Bell says, Finagle enabling Ableton. Ethan Grave says, Enableton. You guys are the best. Oh, lordy. Okay, so. Finagling the Ableton. We got some output here. Alright, so. In theory, if I go MIDI and I click on the chaos shape. Oh, we are already getting data somehow. Oh, it's because I have that metro going. That's why. So this is already sending lots of data real fast. And this is also getting confused because I have this Max for Live patch open at the same time, and these are named the same thing, and I sense an imminent Stack Overflow if I'm not careful. I have too many things open. I can hear the computer taking off like a rocket. Teeth Engraved says the folds on the wave folder might be a fun one to modulate. Yeah, good call. I think that's a good idea. I'll add that in too. And Beard Bill says no you. No you. Alright. We're beach balling and I'm scared. Hold on. Hold on, chat. What is confusing here? It's gonna be okay, Ableton. Alright, we're gonna save this. We're gonna close it. Now we're beach balling in Max too. Okay. Oh, no, there we go. We good. Let's close this too. And we have it open here. I don't want these to confuse each other, so I'm going to delete that for the moment. Okay. Okay, we're safe. We're still in business. Let's go back over here. And let's reopen our silver machine. We need to get Bob back. And here's what I'm going to do just for the moment, because we're just testing out mapping right now. I'm going to disconnect these for just a second. We will deal with that problem later. If that's moving too fast for Ableton, sending MIDI messages once every 10 milliseconds, then we can slow it down. But that is a later problem. So, MIDI. I'm going to delete these real quick. Chaos shape. We have, let's put that over here on X. Teeth and Grape says, slow down, Bob. Yeah, Bob needs to calm down. Oh yes, I need to reselect the IAC bus. That's what I didn't do. Okay, there we go. We can see CC1. CCC1 is coming in here for chaos shape. Let's do CC2. Oh, need to select that one. Great. There we go. That's frequency. And yeah, let's follow Teeth Engraved's suggestion and do the wave folder as well. That's gonna be cool. Yeah, folds, that's what you were suggesting, right? Alright. Yeah, sure. Let's put that on the same knob as the chaos shape, because it kind of sounds to me like those are interacting nicely. So I'm going to go configure, folds, and yeah, now I'm going to map that as well. Whoops, wrong track. MIDI mode, MIDI mapping mode. We'll put that here. Alright. So CC2 is doing both. Oh, I meant to put that on the other one. That's what I meant. So CC1 is doing both the chaos shape and... Oh my god, wrong thing. We don't want select track. We want folds. There we go. Okay, CC1 is doing both the chaos shape and the folds. And CC2 is doing the filter frequency. I bet that's going to be cool. Okay. Save. Now, what we want to do next is pull over our HI controller stuff so that we can actually do this from our PlayStation controller. And before we do that, I'm going to take just a moment to run and get some water. I suggest you do the same. I will be right back, chat. Don't go nowhere. And we're back. So, we have accomplished step one here. and I'm going to follow my own advice and add a couple of notes before we go any further. So last time, let's see, this was just some notes I made for how I updated the Axis B patcher, and we already looked at that. Now, we've accomplished step 1 of our side quest. We are going to be mapping the joysticks and buttons to synths in Ableton as a standalone patch. Just writing down the goal. It pays to leave yourself a breadcrumb trail, as I always say. And we've accomplished step 1, which is just send data from Max to Ableton. Specifically CC data for now. And be able to map it. Step 2 is going to be send joystick data as CC data to Ableton. If we can manage that, step 3 is going to be send notes from the buttons over to trigger notes on a synth in Ableton. And I had a kind of a fun thought about that, which I think we could bring over to our main synthesizer after we're finished with this side quest. As I've said before, I like to play fighting games, and I'm thinking that we could make this be a little bit like in Street Fighter, where you have light, medium, heavy punch and light, medium, heavy kick. We could have velocity data like that. So if I hit square, that would be one note played lightly, and triangle would be played a little harder, and R1 would be played at like 127 velocity, so as hard as we can. And so we'll have one note that's like punch, and we'll have one note that's like kick. And we will have a way to assign those notes and eventually be able to change them, but then you could have, kind of thinking the L buttons could be modes, so that you could switch between like one set of 2 notes and another set of 2 notes, or be able to switch between a toggle mode so that I could just press a note and have it sustain. And I think if we were to set this up as like a way to increment through a series of modes so that you could do up or down with L1 and L2, I think kind of what I'm thinking of is like in Doom when you can switch weapons. That's kind of what I'm thinking of with the L trigger buttons. So you've got your notes on your right hand, and you've got your L trigger buttons to be able to switch how those notes actually sound, and then you've got your 2 joysticks for controlling knobs and mapping wherever you like. That is kind of what I'm thinking. We can fiddle with that later, but specifically, step 3, we want to be able to send notes from the buttons and assign velocities to low, medium, heavy, punch, kick as 2 separate notes. I figure that's a good way to start. We can always change this later, but the idea of a breadcrumb trail is you need specific stuff to follow. If we can get these 3 things to work, then we can slowly build from there. These are simple goals that we can do step by step. And this is the same way that I work at my day job, where I do like web crap. I mean, web stuff that I love. No, really, it's fun. But for more serious work, it's how I do it too. You need to just divide things up into manageable, bite-sized chunks and not try to do too much all at once. So this is what I want for right now. If we could play some notes on a synth and be able to map the joysticks to make it go all around, that'd be badass. And we can also we can mark this one off as done, and that's always nice. Alright, now we need to jump back in here, and I've lost a window over here. Hold on. Okay. There we go. I need to open back up our original synth for a moment so that we can steal the HI object and reuse our work. And Beard Pills, you were asking before about how the HI object works, and now you'll get to see us pull all that stuff over, and that's a good way to understand things. Where the heck is it? Max Audio, Space Synth. There we go. Don't die. I'm just ever so slightly concerned about having these open at the same time because our B patchers are named the same thing, but it probably doesn't matter. Alright, so here's the chunk that is taking input from the PlayStation controller. Here is our route that is letting us specifically grab the data we are interested in. We know that the left joystick, X and Y, are coming out of 26 and 27 here. We don't need this. And here's our buttons. We will need that as well. So we will take these and all of this. We will copy it. We will close it. We will not save because we have not changed anything. I'm going to turn this off. That's probably a good way to stay safe here. Excuse me. And Beard Pills, you're right back at you. Happy to show this. Let's see. Alright, here's all of our stuff. Ah, no. Take this. Scoot it back up over here. And let's throw a print here, just to review. So, HI stands for Human Interface, and we can open up the Max window here. Oh, that's interesting. Split doesn't understand bang. Oh, I know what that's coming from. We can ignore that for now. Don't worry about it. Okay. Let's stay on target. Grab the controller. So, sending the menu command to HI lets us populate this menu here with our available devices. We got a bunch of stuff we could use, like the trackpad or whatever, but we want the PlayStation 3 controller. And you can see now we have all of this stuff coming out because when I select something from this menu, you can see this cable comes out and says trigger B for bang, and that sends this poll 10 message to HI, which says listen and ask for data every 10 milliseconds, just like our metro that we have in our B patcher. And now we're getting this long set of tons of messages that have two numbers in them. The first number designates which control is sending the data, and the second number is the actual value of that control. So through process of elimination in our first stream, we figured out that 26 and 27 are the left joystick X and Y axes. And I can prove that, well, we've already seen it in action, but that's what this route is doing. So we're saying, look for any message that starts with 26, and then grab whatever the second number is. And you can see that as I twiddle this, we're getting our numbers there. Now, that should all still be working. We should really throw this in a little patcher at some point, too. That would be smart. Beardville says, cool. Glad you think it's cool. And I hope that makes sense. Just seeing that little walkthrough here. We've got the buttons available. We're going to use those for our notes. You can see a square button right here. When I press it, we get a 1. Yep. Cool. Glad it makes sense. Hooray. And, yeah. Okay, so from over here, through the void, up to here, these are still named the same thing, so they should be hooked up. And we can see we're getting numbers out here. So we're pretty good. Yeah, alright. And we want to convert those from floats, or decimals, into integers for our control out, because MIDI is dumb and doesn't understand decimals. It's only integers from 0 to 127. And with any luck, because we tested this part of it already, we know we can map stuff in Ableton. And we've tested this extensively. We know our joystick stuff works. We should be able to control that synth right now. Let's hit save. Oh my god. Is it gonna work? What do you think, chat? Is it gonna work? Or is it gonna die? We're gonna see. Big money, no whammy. Let's play a chord. I like this C major 7. How about a C sus 4? There we go. I'm gonna just toggle here so that that sustains a bit. And then hopefully... yeah, look at that! Stuff's moving! Oh, that's cool! Dude! That is so cool! Dude, whoa, right? This is the fun of it. And I get to share these little whoa moments with you guys. So what did we do? Y-axis is the low pass. Beer Pill says, that's tight. Thank you. I'm glad you'd like it. I'm gonna share this with everybody too. Oh my god, my green screen is all messed up. There we go. Kind of. I don't want you guys seeing my messy room. There we go. Okay, cool. Back to the tightness. Yeah, right. So, y-axis is our filter. X-axis is the folds and chaos shape. Sick. That is sick! And you can hook this up into any synth that lets you map MIDI now. This was the right decision. Let's try switching X and Y real quick. I just have a feeling that's gonna feel better. So all I'm gonna do is just disconnect this real quick. And incidentally, apparently 10 milliseconds is not too fast. I was worried that that was going to be too fast for MIDI sending, but all is good. Alright, so that, there we go. Ah, no! Too many patch cords. You, there. Also, you be symmetrical, because it's pretty. There. Look at that! Dude! That gives me so much joy. Joy, because, you know, joystick. I'm a dork. Alright. And right now I have to do this from the keyboard. But very soon we can do it from the buttons. Progress. Hey, guess what? We get to mark another thing off of our list. Send joystick data as CC data to Ableton. Done. Alright. So, Now it's time for button magic. We gotta make some noise. Make some noise with some notes. Make some noise. Alright, so let me think for just a second. Let's do the same thing. First we want to just be able to send some notes. That's important. Before we're triggering them with our cool buttons, we gotta actually send them. To do that, if I recall, the easiest way is to use an object called MakeNote. Let me move this out of my way. There we go. Nope. I put my controller down on my keyboard. Okay. MakeNote. Here's the help file. And this is what I'm wanting, actually, to assign a note to a button. I'm thinking we'll have a little keyboard like this for each of our punch and kicks. Ethan Graves says, make some noise. Yes, that's the plan. Let's make some noise. Noise. Noisy notes. Just looking through this. Okay, we're going to steal this whole patch. We want this keyboard so that we can assign a note number. We want this number box because it defines velocity. That's what's going to be our low, mid, and heavy. Fuck it, let's just keep the comment too. I'm stealing this whole thing. Duration. Duration is going to be defined by how long we hold down our button. So we're going to have to do something a little bit different than that, but we can just make it default to a second for right now. Yeah, we don't want duration. We want to manually turn the note off. And the way you turn a note off generally is that we send a 0 velocity note. Ethan Graves says, oh, I have an idea. What's your idea? I am very curious. And in the meantime, while you're thinking about that, and probably typing it, I'm going to continue plagiarizing this help patch. Copy. Oh, hey, these are important. We're going to want these too. Clear and stop are good things to have. Ethan Graves says, pick a note and a mode, then have the 6 buttons be the 6 steps in the mode. Do you mean... Okay, I have to think about that for a second. So the 6 steps in the mode, are you talking about a mode like Phrygian or like Aeolian, or a mode like the play mode that we're going to be picking with the left toggle buttons? 6 steps in the mode. I want to make sure I'm understanding your idea. Because I think that sounds cool. My thought was that, for right now anyway, we can always change this later if y'all have other cool thoughts, but I'm thinking that we're just going to have 2 pitches available. Let's use that terminology. And then square, triangle, and R1 will be light, medium, heavy for that one pitch. And X, circle, R2 would be the light, medium, heavy for the other pitch. Ethan Graves says, like, select the note, say D, and the steps within, say, Phrygian. Oh, okay. I gotcha. Let's see. Yeah, so, like, square would be your root. Beard Pills says, light, medium, heavy for dynamics. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Teeth Engraved says, like, select your notes and modes from a drop-down menu. Right. Uh-huh. And then you'd have, like, square, triangle, and R1 are, like, your root, your flat 2, and your flat 3. Is that what you're thinking of? Like, that lets you play up and down the scale the same way that you would on a keyboard? I think that's a cool idea as well. I think we should probably have both of those available. Like, I could see a... I think you probably would want to have some kind of velocity range, which was my thought for doing the light, medium, heavy. But you might not need all of that. I think it really depends on what you're trying to play. So, maybe we can have both of those available. Teeth and Grave says, yeah, within the mode there are 6 steps, right? And you have 6 buttons. You have, usually in the modes, you have 7 steps, so we'd still be missing one. But you would have most of a scale that way. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's write that down as an option. I think that I want to start simple for right now and just make... We're going to start with just 1 note, or maybe 2. And we got to have some way to define velocity, but I'm going to write that down because I think that's a cool idea. So, select a scale mode and a root note, and then be able to use your... Oh, Teeth Engraved says, or do pentatonic mode where it works that way. Yeah, that would just be, that's a great idea. We could just call this pentatonic mode, actually. And, because that's only 5 pitches. But yeah, we could do something like... I think really at the root of this, we want to allow people to assign a note and a velocity to each of the buttons. That would really cover all of this. You have 6 buttons available to you on your right hand, and... You could let your user just pick some notes from whatever scale they want and pick a velocity for each one. And then you have either, anywhere from 1 to 6 notes. And that way, that kind of gives you the flexibility as a user to just say, like, all right, maybe I only care about 2 or 3 notes and I want to be able to play more expressively and use more different velocities and focus on the joysticks more. Like, I could certainly see wanting to just hold down a drone and then fuck around on the joysticks forever. But, yeah, I think that would give them flexibility. You can just assign a note and a velocity to each of the buttons, if you like. I do like the idea of a pentatonic mode. Let's keep this in our notes, because I think these are awesome ideas. Let's see, so I'm going to call this pentatonic mode. Select a scale mode and a root note, and then be able to use your right hand buttons to play the scale. Or just generally be able to pick a note and a velocity for each button. Teeth Engraved. I know for sure PS4 can... Oh, sorry, I missed a couple of comments here. Teeth Engraved says, I'm not sure, but I think the buttons may have dynamic pressure sensitivity. I know for sure PS4 controllers do. That would be super cool, but sadly, at least as far as I've seen, these don't. That would be the best. If we could use dynamic pressure for velocity, then I would be stoked. But unfortunately, as you can see here, square is really just 0 and 1. However, we did see something like that for the trigger buttons, so that's something to keep in mind for the future as well. Oops. I put the controller down on the keyboard again. Okay. Right. So back to... Here's the help patch that I stole. And we have a pitch here. And let's just put this on a send. Oh, we already did. Look, I've outsmarted myself. So we have send X button. Let's do send square button. Let's do send circle button. Maybe I'll put these all in a line. And let's move this over here a little bit so we're out of the void a bit. Alright, circle. And triangle. Whoops. Oh my god, select the right thing, please, sir. Thank you. Here we go. I'm going to put the sends right next to their number boxes so that we can see what is connected to what. That looks good. There we go. And I guess I'll go ahead and make them for L1. I mean for R1 and R2. R1. And R2. Cool. Now we're going to need a receive, and let's just start with square. Incidentally, send and receive can be abbreviated to just S and R. Alright, so now what we need to do is say, well, let's test this. That's what we were going to do. Before we even hook the buttons up, I'm going to set this to our same IAC driver bus so that Ableton can pick it up. And this is going to default to a velocity of 60 and a duration of 1,000. I'll just type it in here for clarity. And when I click this, we should get whatever note I play on this keyboard, and it should sustain for a second. That's 1,000 milliseconds, and then turn off. And if we have our MIDI track in Ableton on... Okay, MIDI in Ableton, it says it's coming from all ins. That does include the IAC driver. So with any luck, that should just work. C. Woohoo! Okay. That's the next step. Does it go away? Yes, it does. Okay. So we're going to need to, say, take the square button, and we're going to use a select object to say whenever we get a 1, we want to trigger a bang. Just putting this here for visibility. And again, bang means go. And if we get not a 1, that would be a 0. Then we're going to get this bang. So that bang is going to go and tell that number box to send its number. And then this one, we need to have this one say stop instead of using this duration thing. And I think if we just send a 0 velocity, that should do it. So I'm going to say trigger 0. And actually, I have a hunch. I think we don't need this make note object at all. I think what we need is to talk directly to this note out and send it pitch and velocity. So on a 1, we're going to trigger this. And 1 second, I'm just thinking, because we want to be able to select a note from this keyboard, but we don't want to actually send that note until we click the button. So I believe the way to do that is by using a message called set with a $1, and that just means whatever I put in here is going to replace the $1. So if I have a number box here and I connect this up. Oh wait, I have a better way to do this. This is dumb. All I need is an integer box. That's like a little box you can put a number in and it'll just hang out there. So this keyboard is actually going to output Beard Pill says, are you building a gate of sorts? Of sorts, yes. When I want the note to start when I click the button, so that's kind of like opening the gate. And I want the note to stop when I let go of the button, so that is like closing the gate. And so yeah, we just need to store whatever note I pick here, but we don't want to actually send it to live until I click the button on the PS controller. So this I is going to go in here, and this bang is going to go over here and say send. iBox says if you put a number into an iBox on the right inlet, then that number just hangs out there until you poke it. And then if you send a bang to the left inlet or another number, then it will send. So that is what we want. And then what we want to do is say trigger a 0 on a stop, and that means 0 velocity, but we don't want to just trigger a 0. We also want to trigger after that a bang, B for bang, to say send that same note, but turn it off with the 0. So 0 goes here, bang goes here. I think that should do what we want. Okay, so when I click the button, we can see these bangs are doing what I expect. That's good. Did I actually select a note? Let's see. So there's C. Yep, cool. And you can see I can play this piano, and we're not actually getting a pitch here. Oh, I need to set a velocity, of course. Let's, what we need to do is have an initial velocity for the square button. So this is why I was kind of thinking of doing like a light, medium, heavy thing. So we can set a note for our button here. And let's use like a slider. Whoops. Slider. And let's make this slider be 0 to 127. Great, it already is. So that should set us a default velocity. Yep, output's value and slider is changed. Okay. So yeah, I think the only thing is we weren't hearing stuff because our velocity was just 0. If I turn this up to say 80, and I hit square, yep, then we get a note, and when I let it go, it stops. Eventually. Yes, we have a very long release time on this synth, I think. Oh, but that's 0. Okay. You can see we only got the one note because this then went back to 0. Beardfill says sick. Thank you. Glad you're digging it. Alright, so we have to make sure to re-trigger this slider when we trigger a new note. So that means this guy, and now we have to remember our ordering. We need a trigger object to send 2 bangs. One of them, let's move this. So when we start a note, first we need to set the velocity for it. Let's put this here. So we're going to say, hey Ableton, this next note is going to be this velocity, and now we're going to trigger it by hitting this number box. So that should work. Should work. Famous last words. Let's make this release time a little quicker so we can make sure that things are happening the way we want them to. Where is the release? Ah, here we go. Yeah, let's make that like 174. Cool. Yeah, alright, that's working. And if I turn this up, we get a louder note. If I turn it down, we get a quieter note. Nice. And our joystick is still working. Nice. Okay. So we have a single note on the square button. That is freaking cool. Let's neaten this up just a little bit. And let's see. I think maybe 3 velocity levels is a little much, but I think I like the idea of let's kind of combine this with Teeth Engraved's idea. And instead of having to pick a scale and a root note, let's just be able to assign whatever notes we want to each of these buttons. So you get 6 buttons, and each one of them we can use a slider and the keyboard to pick what we want them to be. Let's see, we might still need a way to clear notes at some point, but we'll figure that out later. Whatever. This is looking to me like it might be a prime candidate for a B patcher at some point. Oh no. Okay. But I think what I want to do right now is just sort of proof of concept, feel this out, and copy paste stuff. Alright, we want 1 note out port. So I'm going to leave this down here. Let's actually use a send here, and then we can copy this easier. So we're going to say send note number. And then I'm going to make the receive to go with it. That goes here. And then we need one for velocity. But this should be, these need to be paired. Alright, back up. Better idea. Maybe we just want to use multiple note outs. Let me just think about this for a second. Eventually we probably just want 1 note out message, but I mean, object. Derp. Beardpill says, might be a bit much for this session, but could you map the trigger to control the position of the slider? Map the... You mean like the R1, R2 buttons? Where 0 on the trigger is all the way down on the slider, and 1 is all the way up. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could do that. Let's see. I'm just thinking about that a little bit. So, like, R1 would be a quiet note, and R2 would be a loud note, is one way to do it. I'm thinking. I'm going to put that in our idea bank. I like that. We might come back to that as well. So use the trigger button to be... Sorry, just thinking this through. So when you press the trigger button, have the velocity slider be up, and when you let it go, have it be down. Is that what you're thinking? Trigger button to control velocity. So when it is down, we are loud, and when it is released, we are quiet. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. It's going in the bank. For right now, I think I just want a couple of these on different buttons. So we've got square button and triangle button. We're just going to copy and paste this stuff. Whoa. Hit that same note again. Again, this is not permanent. We're just experimenting. We want to see what feels good. The whole point of this side quest is to not only make this available for any synth, but also to feel out how we want these controls to behave. So we're just going to be playing around here for a bit. So now we have a square, a triangle, and let's copy both of these and make 2 more. We're going to do circle and X. Copy that. Beard pills, I don't, trigger acts as an aftertouch kind of thing. I don't know if PS3 had triggers. Yeah, I think that there is. I saw briefly that there was pressure in the R1, R2 buttons and L1, L2, I think. But it's going to take going back into this route object, and that's more complicated than I want to get at this stage. So it's going in the bank for now, but I think that's a cool idea. I think it's just one of these programming techniques is don't get too complicated too fast. We want small chunks. All we want right now is some notes, and then we will move on from there. But I really appreciate the suggestions from both of you guys. I've got them in my notes file, and that is what the notes file is for. So circle button, and what do we have? We have square, triangle, circle, and we want X. All right. And what I'm testing here also is how everything behaves with multiple node out objects. Because ideally, this is a nice clean chunk of code here. We could just put this into a B patcher, copy and paste it, throw a pattern in here so that we can remember the values of our slider and our keyboard, and then our user could very easily be able to just select a note and a velocity for each of the buttons. Beardfield says, thank you. I'm going to try to clarify my idea as well. Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to also tweet at me if you have more ideas, or, you know, we can always chat in Discord and stuff. I think that this is coming along, and being able to select some different modes so that the user can have different ways of playing will be a cool way to go in the future. But remember, we want to keep this kind of simple. So yeah, the idea of being able to just select a scale or assign some notes, the way that Teeth Engraved was saying, I think would be real cool for being able to just jump in and play around, and then you'd be sure that you're going to be in key when you are jamming with something, and that would be awesome. I like the idea of using triggers for, like, you could hold down R1 and be like, this next note is going to be quiet, or something like that. Hold down R2 if you want it to be loud. That's another idea. But yeah, throwing ideas around and then putting them into the notes file is how we progress. And we will get to all of these and play around with them until we find something that is simple and fun. So let's see if this works. I'm going to assign square to be a C. So to mid velocity. I'm going to assign circle to be G for that power chord, and I'm going to assign X to be a lower G and make that a bit louder, and I'm going to make triangle be, oh, I don't know, F with a moderate velocity. And I gotta make sure to assign each of these node outs. So they're all going to the IAC bus. And then I think we should be in business chat. Let's give it a go. Yeah! You know, that feels pretty good. I'm stoked. Let's go watch it over in live for a second. Feels like the filter's moving a little fast. But at least it's sensitive, so that's cool. We could fix that real quick, though. Let me do one thing. So remember our nudge amount? All we need to do to slow this stuff down is open up our B-Patcher inspector here and change those nudge values, 3 and 4. So right now we're going from 0.1 to 1.5 on the x-axis. Let's try like 0.05. So I'm going to divide that by 2, and let's just go up to 1 instead of 1.5. Let's try that. Close that. Save it. All right. Yeah, that feels better. So there's going to be some tuning around like this, and that is why we are separating into this side quest here. One bit at a time. We get to just focus on how the controls feel, without having to worry too much about the sound design, because we already have this freaking rad synth over here, and we can plug this into whatever we want. Here, I might even be in key with our little song we started here. Yeah! Also, bonus, we can play more than one note at once this way. I think if I just hold down, you know, both triangle and square or whatever. Oh yeah, no, that works. I just had the filter closed. So yeah, you can get chords this way. Nice. If I want to choose a new note, let's lock the patch. Let's do D and maybe a high C. And an A. What the heck? Whoops. That's not in the key. How about an E? How about an F? Low F. Yeah. F in chat. Nice! Alright. So I would call that progress. I think this is a good place to put it down. We can mark a done here, and then we can kind of think about how we want to proceed with how to actually use these buttons next time. And next time we're going to add in the second joystick as well. I think that's going to be lots of fun. Alright. Ideas are blooming, and thank you for your ideas as well, chat. This is very exciting. And again, of course, I'm going to make this patch, all this stuff available to you, and we're going to eventually put it up on maxforlive.com. It's going to be awesome. So I think I'm going to call that a stream for right now, because it is getting late, but thank you so much for joining me. You guys are awesome, as always. And let's go find somebody to raid, see if anyone else is up. No, thank you. Hello? Oh, why won't it let me raid? This worked before! Damn it. Oh well, fine. Fine. I guess I just have to say goodbye in the normal way. Where's my cool little transition screen? Okay. That one? No, I always hit the wrong one. Ending scene. That's the one I want. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night, and I will see you next week.